Where's the? How do you get there? Where are the stairs? Yeah.
All
Or
right.
what? Or when we worked at McDonald's, feed the chickens in the basement.
Yeah, feed the chicken. Yeah, yeah, we need more eggs. Feed the
We'll get the
chickens in the basement.
we'll get the bucket of steam.
Yeah, we need another bucket of steam. Good. Yeah, exactly.
So funny.
Oh, so let's have a little bit of sit. And since it's raining, I want to think a little bit about the rain. And I want to kind of think about two things. I want to think about the base of warmth, a foundation of warmth, which maybe is literal, like where I'm sitting is warmer because, my butt's there. But it could be your heart, or it could be your base of warmth, meaning like your family, your tribe, something like that. And as the rain falls, we know that it clears the air, cleans things. So when we go outside later, there'll be a sense of things being refreshed. But I want to feel that rain falling within me, clearing and refreshing. So it's not a thing that I'm aware of happening outside my body or certainly outside the building we're in. But I want to feel that the rain is also doing the same thing within me, clearing, cleansing, sweeping. Now, if we imagine the rain falling upon a warm foundation, we might imagine steam coming up. So the rain washes us on its way down, and then as the steam rises, the steam has an opportunity to loosen things that didn't come so easily free just from a little rinse. So things are a little, like you might use steam when something's greasy or something like that. So we want to tune into the fall of the rain and then the rise of the steam, both cleaning up and down. Okay.
Sounds good.
Well, I'll ring a chime mic, but I'll try and say something in case you don't hear it on Zoom.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Welcome you back.
I'm here.
Thank you. How do we feel?
Good, thank you.
Good start.
Good start.
Somehow got into I know how I did it. I got into a meadow with flowers and sunshine.
Mm. You're a happy place.
It was pretty fun. I was like, oh no, it's not raining. And then I was like, oh, it's probably okay.
I've been doing this thing for the last. Can you hear me okay, Mike, at this volume?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
I'm sipping tea and it's raining. I'm probably a little quiet, but
Mm.
just let me know if you stop hearing me. I've been doing this thing, I'm gonna guess for 4 years, maybe five, something like that. But I've been paying attention to how it's always autumn constantly. So when we think of autumn, we actually just call it fall because the leaves fall. And by observing that it's always autumn, I've become much more attuned to how often things are falling. And sometimes it's the milkweed seeds, and other times it's spring blossom petals falling. Other times it's pollen in the air. Other times it's, you know, rain or whatever, but like there's constantly things falling through the air. And sometimes it's more like a slow snowfall, snow globe kind of thing. Sometimes it's more driving. Sometimes it's kind of hard to notice, like when it mists and it rains, like, is it raining? Is it maybe?
Mm.
But it kind of feels like it's just reliably there's some spores or seeds or leaves or blossoms or nuts or, things falling. So it just shifts my kind of thought from, well, it just happens at the end of the season and then you rake them or something. And it's just like, oh no,
Mm.
there's constantly, and a lot of times to me at least, it's sort of poetically falling. It's like kind of slow and caught in the wind a little, and it's not like pelting. It's just so anyway. Um, was it possible for you guys to kind of think about the cleansing on the down as well as the cleansing on the
Yeah.
warm rising and the cool falling, the two of them working together?
I felt like with every breath I took in, the breath was coming from the top, so rain.
Hmm.
So the breath was rain
Oh yeah.
on the inside, cleansing, cleansing, cleansing out to the earth.
Hmm.
And I did that several times, just kept cleansing and kind of looking. Is there something that needs my attention for
Hmm.
more cleansing?
Hmm.
And then when I felt like um, the rain was good and it was time to let it recede, then the steam was coming from the earth
Hmm.
and now looking in all the nooks and crannies and
Hmm.
coming out the top.
Hmm.
And it felt good to be investigative inside
Hmm.
and just drawing, and it drew my attention. I had a place in my lower stomach that I was like, oh, didn't know that was there.
Hmm.
And just let me think about it and just let the steam bring it back.
Hmm.
That's what it felt like to me.
That's great. Yeah, I think about, the rain falling. Like if you stood outside in just an ordinary rain, even for a long period of time, your eyelids would not get cleaned
Mm,
because you have eyebrows. But if you stood in the steam, the eyebrows would get cleaned or eyelids would get cleaned. So even though the rain's falling, it doesn't reach everything because sometimes there's a eaves or a ridge or a shape in architecture, whereas the steam is maybe a bit more active in finding. The rain is passive, but the steam is a bit more active, and it can find the undersides of things that the rain doesn't get. So
yeah,
it's not just that it gets tougher stuff or it gets like a second cleaning, but it just gets different things.
yeah,
I mean, I don't mean there's no overlap, they each get some of the same things,
right.
but um, I feel like sort of the undersides of things
Yeah.
might get cleaned by the steam. And in Chinese medicine, we imagine something that's often described as steam as nourishing the lungs. So there's this additional layer of the moistening of the lungs from that rising vapor um, that you might, appreciate as well. The the lungs depend on the steam. The the character, speaking of etymology, the character for chi, if I say chi, am I losing anybody or we're reasonable with that as a term?
I'm good.
So chi etymologically is comprised of two elements, fun and thing. The the first element, fun, is rice. It's actually a drawing of a piece of rice divided in four, as in broken down to be nourishing or shared like a meal. So it's sustenance, eating. And since we're building the character for energy, that kind of makes sense. All right. I'm glad energy is born of food. That's how I live my life too. Um, and then the surrounding character, which is above it and to the right, so it's sort of over it, if you like, is the character for wind, which really is just, it's not so much wind, like it's breezy. It's more like air, but if it moves, you notice it, right? And so it's like almost like if you underlined a word that you were writing, like, okay, we're trying to pay particular attention here. Like you really want me to, when you wrote very and underlined it, that says something. So saying wind is kind of like air, like, and it's also not just, it's certainly not stale air, it's moving air. It's not rice like sprouted on a stalk, like, which is another character, another way to describe. Again, it would be rice, like but that's not quite food. That's something in the garden. But the divided rice is different. So we have food and breath. We have sustenance and breath, and we could presume with rice, if it's being eaten, what do you cook rice with? Like,
Fire,
how do you cook it?
Water.
Steam.
Water
steam.
or steam, perhaps. You need water. So within rice that's being eaten is suggesting drink, like so food and drink. Like there's water, like you don't have rice without, right? I mean, I have rice, but it's not dinner. It's just dried rice. But if you have eating rice, there's definitely been drinking. There's water. So the character is food and breath, and together it's energy. Right? When we look at the character, we can see that the character for the wind, the breath, is like a lid on a kettle or a pot. And the lid is moving. I don't know if Mike can see my hand, but the lid is on top of the pot and it's moving,
Yes.
which tells you there's energy, like the pot's on the boil. The kettle without the fire does this, like it's doing that right now in my kitchen. But at some point it rattles and it jumps and it moves and it hisses and it's like it's alive,
Yeah.
energy.
Yeah.
So the character for Chi is
Hmm.
aliveness, born of food and drink and breath. Right. So you can see it as sort of cooking rice if you wanted, or something like that.
It's a really sort of complex analogy
Mhm.
put into those two characters and then
Yes.
have other people share that thought.
Yeah.
Yes. For sure. I will try and oh, that's so cool. It's actually called up. I opened up my app and it was a different character that includes Chi in it, so I didn't even have to look. It's kind of amazing. We want to see this though. Can I let Mike see first if he can see.
Yeah, I can see it.
So rice, oops, I lost it there. Rice, and then that's the rising air moving.
Cool. Very cool. Thank you.
So this is rice with
It's divided.
the divided and then the bits, and then the air rising, warm air moving across, which is also like the lid moving. That's so cool. I opened up the app and like the last thing I looked up was a word that's compound for supporting and chi. So it's dual chi was what was that was pretty cool. uh, um, so chi or energy we can look at as steam, like the kettle or the steamed rice or something, that idea of aliveness, and steam is this sort of compound of air and water, or this quality that shares both. So, does anybody have anything else they want to share or add?
I'm good.
So,
Thank you.
thank you. So, I think I'm gonna just take you guys through a guided meditation then. Um, since that's how we began. I wrote this one a while ago. I haven't shared it with anybody, so feels like it's the right one to do. So, can you hear me again, Mike, at this volume?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
I just feel like I'm being very quiet, and I don't want to exclude you until I do it on purpose. So this is called the fire and the rain. Take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, let your body soften. Let your shoulders drop, your jaw unclench, and your hands rest gently wherever they are. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so, or simply let your gaze fall softly to the earth before you. Let us begin this journey inward into the quiet temple of your being, where the welcome fires burn and the nurturing rains fall. Imagine now that you are sitting in a vast forest clearing. The air is cool, and the sky above is painted with soft hues of twilight. In the center of this clearing is a fire, a small but steady flame flickering against the encroaching darkness. This fire is yours. It has always been yours. It was lit long ago, perhaps before you even knew yourself, and it has never gone out. A long line of ancestors stretches out across the vast story of time. Each kept this fire burning. Each gave of themselves to give this fire to you. You are and have always been the caretaker of this fire in this forest clearing. Feel its warmth on your skin. See how it dances alive and vibrant, its colors shifting between gold and amber, crimson and blue. This fire is more than a flame. It is a teacher. It is the spark of life itself within you. As you sit before this fire, your fire, recognize its many faces. The beacon. This fire calls to those who are lost in the dark. It is guiding light, unwavering and sure. In moments when you have felt adrift, this fire has been there, quietly illuminating the path back to yourself. Breathe deeply now and feel its steady glow within your chest, a reminder that no matter how far you wander, there is always a light to guide you home. The hearth, this fire, nourishes. Imagine now that a simple pot hangs above it, bubbling gently with sustenance. This fire transforms raw ingredients into nourishment, just as it transforms challenges into wisdom and effort into growth. Remember for a moment how this inner fire has sustained you through life's trials, how it has cooked down your experiences into this rich broth of understanding. The protector. Notice how this fire keeps the shadows at bay. Predators of doubt and fear linger at the edges of its glow, but dare not step closer. This fire is your guardian. Its warmth reminds you that you are safe here, in this moment, exactly as you are. The light. Finally, see how this fire illuminates not just the world around it, but also within it. The flickering flames cast shadows that dance on the earth, a reminder that even in light there is shadow, and even in shadow there is light. Take a moment to sit with this fire within you. Feel its warmth in your belly, its glow in your heart. Know that it burns not out of anger or an urge to destruction, but out of love, a love that is life itself, creation itself. Now, as you sit before this sacred flame, notice a shift in the air around you. A single drop of rain falls from the sky above, landing softly on the earth nearby. Then another, and another. Soon, a gentle rain begins to fall. Not harsh or cold, but soft and nurturing. like a blessing from the sky, a mother rain. This rain does not extinguish your fire, instead it feeds it in subtle ways. The drops sizzle as they meet the flames, creating steam that rises like incense into the air, a union of Earth's elements in perfect harmony. Let this rain become a metaphor for life's challenges, the unexpected storms that arrive unbidden. Notice how your fire does not resist the rain but embraces it. The rain cools what is too hot. It tempers what might burn too brightly or too fiercely. It softens edges hardened by time and brings balance to what might otherwise consume itself. In Eastern traditions, water symbolizes flow, adaptability, surrender, renewal. As this gentle rain falls around you now, imagine it washing away what no longer serves you. Old fears, lingering doubts, stagnant energy. Feel the cool droplets on your skin as they cleanse and purify you. With each breath in, welcome this renewal. With each breath out, release what weighs heavy on your spirit. Now bring your awareness to the interplay between these two forces, fire and rain, yang and yin, effort and surrender, light and shadow, heat and coolness, action and stillness. Notice how they do not fight one another, but instead exist in perfect balance. The fire reminds us to act with purpose, to burn brightly with passion for life. The rain reminds us to let go, to flow with grace through life's challenges. Together they teach us harmony, how to stand firm without rigidity, how to move forward without force, how to shine without consuming ourselves or others. Take a few moments now to reflect on where these forces show up in your own life. Where might you need more warmth? Where might you need more flow? Trust that just as nature finds balance between these elements, so too can you find balance within yourself. As this meditation draws to a close, see yourself standing before this inner fire, your inner fire once more. A little stronger than before, a little brighter perhaps. The rain has softened the earth beneath you, making it fertile ground for new growth. Take one last deep breath here in this sacred space. As you exhale slowly, know that this fire, your fire, will continue to burn within you always, a source of light, warmth, protection, and transformation, and that when storms come again, as they surely will, they will only serve to strengthen its glow. When you're ready, gently open your eyes or lift your gaze back into this present moment. Consider committing to carrying with you into each of your tomorrows the wisdom of both fire and rain, the courage to burn brightly and the grace to flow freely. Namaste.
I'm back. See, penguin. I already forgot. Tippy toe goose. What is it?
Yeah, you did not forget. You got it.
Tiptoe goose.
Tiptoe, 次 in Chinese. Very nice. How did that work? Was that a little extended?
That was good.
No, it's
Good. I like that.
Good. I just wrote it. It was a given length, so I was like, well, if it's a little long, it is what it is. Usually I kind of assess where people are and if I need to finish, but I was like, well, this is how long I wrote it, so
Yeah, no, it's lovely. It's really lovely.
thank you. Yeah, I write too many. I don't always record them all, so
Oh.
this is now moved up, so maybe since it's at the top of my notes, I'll record it and post it, but it was fit what we did as an intro, so.
I think it worked well with the steam too.
Yeah, it just kind of hinted at that lesson a little without, being so clearly explicated.
Mm. Yeah, that was great.
I'm so glad. Yeah, and it mentions the ancestors with the fire, which we
Oh,
talked
that's
about
right.
last week, so
Yes.
it kind of happened to fit that way. It
Yes.
was kind of nice, you know. Sitting under the ancestors here is kind of nice. Any other observations or questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
It reminded me that sometimes we attach like good and bad to things, and struggles are bad.
Yes.
And it just was a good reminder to say that there is no story unless you give it one. And it's not good or bad, it's all serving. It all has its purpose.
Mm. Well, we are, it's also helpful to remember to build on what you said, that we are story makers. So whenever we can pinpoint story as part of the challenge, as you just did, it's also helpful to remember, but having said that, we're still going to make and consume stories.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of like being pattern recognizers or story makers is
Yeah.
very, it's like the rice in the water. We can't avoid it.
I feel like if you dive under the story, like, you're going to tell the story, but like, I feel like if I can just slip under the story and feel what you said, the
Mhm.
perspective of,
Mhm.
right, that it's all serving. It's
Yes.
all like the story is going to be there for me, but if I can just let that be and go to the other side and say, it's all serving. It's all it, like I tend to want to make it good and bad, or
Right.
you know.
Right, a few of us have been talking about feelings and communication, and how to communicate well and think about what you need, and that ties into it.
Mhm.
Sometimes if you're looking for something from someone else, you tell a story about their motivation or whatever they're thinking,
Yes.
Mhm.
but you have to think back to maybe what their feeling is or what their need is, see if you can pull that out,
Yeah.
or they, some sense do the same for you.
Yeah.
So it's not a good or bad feeling or a good or bad action, or, doesn't have to be a threat. You have to kind of find that,
Mm,
the
Mhm.
origin kernel of
exactly.
it.
Yeah.
So I'll just kind of share this um, way to consider this story challenge. If pick some number, 100 people file into the theater and watch the show, they all leave having experienced the same story. Of course, we also know that they have 100 different takes on it. Some liked it, some didn't, some thought it was better last night, or, but 100 people saw the same story and they go away with the same story. And they head home, and then there are, let's say, 20 people who are working at the theater that know what's backstage, and that so and so's costume was starting to fall apart in scene two, and that this cue was a little bit late, and that the new prop sort of worked out and nobody really noticed. And there's actually that story, that those people, let's say the people backstage, know two stories.
Mhm.
They know the story that was put on, and they know the story of the behind the scenes. But then there is somebody cleaning up in the lobby and in the auditorium, and they know that for some reason, nobody that watches Shakespeare eats peanut butter cups. Like, for whatever reason, they're licorice eaters or something, or they have a different story, that this is another Shakespeare production. We know that people are going to like iced tea. They don't, or whatever their story is, and they also saw the show from the back, and they have some idea of the story about behind the scenes, but they also have this story. Meanwhile, somebody in the finance department has a different story about, well, it was a full house, but we also gave a bunch of half-price tickets away to the college, so that's why it was full. So we're looking at a different story. Plus, all the props that this show needed means it costs more than another show, etc. And so everybody that's involved in the theater has a different story. The neighbors to the theater have a different story about what happened tonight, which is just that nobody seems to know where to park anymore, and some of them park in front of my house or something, whatever their story is. Or what a great group that whatever whenever they do a Shakespeare, it's a really polite crowd, and we don't whatever. So we might think that the story is the one that's actually trying to be told, which is whatever's on the playbill. But in fact, there's a lot of stories. So I think it's important when we think about story as a challenge, and I think as a human, it's an unavoidable challenge to just look for a multiplicity of stories and not think that there's a true story.
Right.
Because each of the people whose I just made up their points of view, as I told it, they each feel like, oh, that's the true story. Like when we get to the producers, like actually, that's the bottom line. They're the real story. But somebody else has another story, and then the neighbors have another story, and et cetera, et cetera. So it isn't so much about let's get to the true story, but let's recognize that there's a multiplicity of stories, and they're each just a lens on some reality. But the reality is impervious to story. But our only access to reality may be story.
Yeah.
Right? Or at least our familiar one. So how do we reckon with and acknowledge multiple stories at the same time? Like I imagine the people cleaning the auditorium are like, well, I saw the show, I know the performers, I know the finance people, I talk to them when they come in, and I know what the audience, how do I get a sense of all of the stories and recognize that they're all like the blind men and the elephant. They're all bits of what we might haltingly call truth, maybe small t truth, and not think that the answer is to bat away the story we have in favor of a supposed correct story or complete story or perfect story or final story, but actually just collect all the stories because they're just points of view. And every story tells you something about the person telling the story. It doesn't just tell you about the show that was put on. Every story tells you about who is telling the story. So, another thing to consider, I suppose. If that helps. So, homework. I'm just pausing in case Mike wants to pretend he got cut off. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm losing the connection.
You know where you went.
Yeah, did you say homework? I'm losing the connection. So homework is to consider.
Sorry, guys, I was muted. My bad.
That's
I was
okay.
I was talking, but
Yeah, we were just having fun anyway.
that's all.
So homework is to consider what it is that you carry as a flame that will be passed on that is not a story.
Like a skill or a part of your personality.
Maybe.
I don't know how to do that without a story.
That's why it's the homework. Well, you might relate the homework to me as a story, that's fine, but it's a story about not a story. Right? So what amounts to the flame that you caretake and pass on that is not a story?
Okay.
That makes sense? So if you spend time considering that the value will be in the considering it. It's not so much the homework handed in that's important as the work that you do thinking about it. Okay. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Love you.
Right.
Love you too, guys.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.